All right, so this is kind of a sequel, or if you want to call it part two of the game changer and the compound effect. My name is Joseph Ganchar. Just basically want to try and help you guys out in whichever way I can. So I'm not going to go into titles and status and position because I just don't think that it deems merit when it comes to just someone helping out another person. So um, this week, we're going to talk about 6 techniques for installing good habits. We identified what those looked like last week and kind of like, the story of what that all entails as far as how to identify them. So now we're going to install them. So, what are the effects of a habit in the first place? So, you first off, you want to look at a habit is basically like a tree. And you're like, well, what are you talking about? Well, if the longer the habit you had, it's actually the larger the tree. So if you had a habit that was for 20 years, you're gonna have a tree that's the size of, what it would be like 20 years. Pick a pine, cedar, whatever. But if you had a habit that actually lasted 30 or 40 years, that tree's gonna be, obviously 50 or twice the size of a tree that was in for 20 years. So you got to make sure that you're able to identify these things that have been very much a part of your life for a very long period of time. If this is the case, what's going to happen is that you're going to be faced with a very hard dilemma in the sense of, okay, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to change this? What is this going to look like? So, what you're going to have to do is figure out what that is first and then understand that it's not going to happen overnight, most likely. Last week we talked about that there is a odd occasion that happens, but in this case you'll never change unless you change your daily routine. So what do you do daily and what does that actually look like in your routine? So your success lies in your day-to-day routines, whether you want to just continue to maintain that stream and just go, or you're like, okay, I'm going here, but I need to go over in this direction, or I need to go in this direction. It's not going to happen. You have to decide what's going to be your destiny. Your destiny, believe it or not, starts today. And what you do today will affect tomorrow in the sense of how well you can be prepared for that. You cannot change yesterday no matter what. So, all of what you think of, does today really matter? Yes, because that is where your habits actually start in your day to day, and that'll actually determine your success. So you want to know if you're going to be successful or not, look at your day-to-day routines. So how do you set yourself up for success? This is the first step of it. And it's like, okay, well, how does this work? What does this look like? Well, first, do you plan to do something different to make a transition easier? So if you're planning on doing something different, what is that plan in transitioning of removing that habit? So what does that habit look like that you're like, okay, well, let's just say for an example, you want to go to the gym or you want to go eat healthier. So are you making sure that those foods are at least easier access, instead of having, whatever that might be of empty carbs right on the coffee table? Do you have, fruits on the coffee table with a fruit basket or a bowl or whatever it might be? Just make sure that that stuff's actually a lot more easier accessible. And the stuff that you don't want to eat, make sure that that's further away from you. Just going to make it easier for you. However, that's a lot easier said than done because, I'll believe it or not, I struggle with that right now. Like I'm just in that season. So this talk is probably going to be just as much as for me as it would be for you, just to be straight up and honest about this. So when you're trying to also look at, what is consuming my day? What does my day look like? Do I want to try and change, certain things that I do in a day? So are you going to try and go about accomplishing, a certain recreational activity when you don't have access to a facility? It's not going to make any sense. You got to make sure that that is as close by and as convenient as possible. Whenever you're changing a habit and you want to replace that old habit with a new one, that new one has to be as easy as possible in order for you to actually develop that new habit, okay, regardless of what that looks like. So you need to think in addition and not subtraction. So you got to think of in privilege and not scarcity. So when you're going to do something on this level, you got to concentrate on what you are going to have the opportunity to do or privilege to do. This could be like, hey, this is what I get to eat. It's a healthier food choice. Or you have the opportunity to do a certain task, or you have the privilege of doing that instead of, oh, I have to eat this food. Oh, I have to do that task. It's never going to work for you if you're thinking in basically the latter of the two. You have to be in an optimistic, perseverant type of a mindset if you even have a chance. Okay, it's not going to even guarantee you that it's going to work, but if you want a chance that this is going to work, that's what you got to do. And if you want to pick up a new hobby, make sure that you're able to do it in such a way where you're able to plug it in into the time slots. If you're saying, I have so much time in front of the TV or whatever it might be that be unproductive and ineffective, you need to be able to realize and recognize that, say, okay, I want to do something more productive and effective. What does that look like? That could be doing anything from going to night classes. That could be taking up, say, photography, art. Now there's a huge AI automation craze. Learn that stuff. Learning and reading is probably going to be the most beneficial investment that you could ever embark or put into yourself. And then also, what happens if it's actually like, hey, I don't make enough money? Well, figure out, other opportunities that would help you out to try and figure that out as well. Okay. So you want to go for what's called a PDA, and that is a public display of accountability. And you want to make sure that you have this in place. Most people have this. I will be upfront and honest. I don't, but I work at a very unique level. I have one level of operating, and that's just flat out go until you crash, and then you kind of like repeat it. And it's very cautiously destructive in a certain way. I understand that, and this is for myself, but I'm just letting you know, you got to be able to recognize this, because I know for myself, I need work on this. I need to be able to try and figure out, okay, how am I able to be more optimal in all areas of the day, instead of like, okay, I'm here and there and whatever. I do have places of I guess, if you want to call it, where I can be able to just like, okay, I need to just completely degress and de-stress. I have that. So that's probably my saving grace for the most part, for sanity purposes. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that if you're going to do something, you want some type of public display of accountability. Tell a friend, tell a family member, even put it on social media and say, this is my life journey. Like, I'm struggling with this, or this is what we're going to be doing. This is what's going to happen and how it's going to go. You're going to go from here to there, right? Just couple of degrees, that's it. You're going to end the trajectory over a long period of time is going to be quite amazing. Okay. Also, what you want to potentially consider is having a success buddy. So have a weekly or a monthly or just some type of touch base with somebody, so that you're able to say, hey, like, this is what's going on, this is how things are going, this is what it all looks like and how it's all developing. This could be from just going to the gym regularly at a regular place, could be going for walks, it could be doing as simple as meeting in a library and exchanging books, for crying out loud. Whatever it does, make sure it does something productive for you and that you have something in place. I have this like once a month, I just meet with an individual, great person. And he's just, one of those types of people that I'm just like, man, every time I walk out, I'm just like, it's a breath of fresh air. And I make sure I'm like, okay, like, be straight up with me, because, life's pretty short. So don't mess around and play around, but you feel the same, so that this way I know, like, if it's a relationship that you're looking at as far as a bank account, I always want to be making deposits in it and not so much the withdrawals. I want to make sure that I'm able to better and equip and empower and encourage you, in order to make sure that you're able to be the best version of yourself to whatever degree you allow me to help you out in. Okay. So that's basically what's coming down when you're looking at finding a success buddy. So then you want to also have a healthy competition or camaraderie or sense of community. So what you're going to be doing here is, if it's walking, or if it's, kind of getting in shape, hey, let's just have an example of, you guys are going to walk 1,000 steps a day as individually, as a group, and then so are we. So there's like the equal amount of heavy lifting. However, it could also be lightened by everybody working together. And then you also want to have that competition where, like, there's some type of a goal or some type of a celebration at the end of this goal, or just, some type of sense of community where you're like, man, like, this was awesome. Like, we really had a great experience. So yeah, you want to make sure that you celebrate this. And that's the last one. So just in closing here, yes, change is hard. So just remember, it doesn't matter what you say or do. The difference between successful people and not successful people is what the successful people are willing to do, and that's just follow through, because other people won't do it. Okay. And with these types of changes, you just got to be patient with them. They take time, and the longer that you've had the bad habit, it's going to take longer potentially for you to actually try and adjust this. So when it's all shaking down, when this is all implemented, where you have the bad habit removed and you have the good one in, you're gonna have what's gonna called momentum. And we're gonna be talking about this next week. So stay tuned. You guys are not going to want to miss this one for sure, because a lot of hard work and equity, sweat equity, is going to be put into, like, okay, I get there, and I got no results. Where's the results? Where's the results? We're going to start talking about the results. So next week is what's going to be really the catalyst of this whole series, is that, or the TSN turning point, if you want to call it that. All right. We'll talk to you later.